Welcome back to another episode of Home Service Headquarters. Today we welcomed on Jacob Palmer of Palmer Electrical. Jacob is a 23-year-old licensed electrician and business owner. Stick around for the interview to learn a little bit about the process of becoming an electrician and what it takes to run a successful service business at just 23 years old. Let's get to the interview. Welcome back to another episode of Home Service Headquarters. Today we welcome on a very special guest, in my humble opinion, one of the coolest people on YouTube, one of the coolest electricians out there making content. We have Jacob Palmer. Jacob, thank you for joining me. Welcome on in.
Jack, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I was very excited to get the invitation, and I appreciate your very kind introduction.
I will also say,
thanks for having me.
Again, not to dish on any of our other guests, probably the coolest background we've had yet. I do want to get into at some point talking a little bit about the shop. You put out a cool video kind of when you opened it up, when you started it. So I'm curious to hear if there are any updates, what you've done, how it's going. But we'll get to that in due time. Off the top, just a general introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll get into background and things like that, but who you are and what your business is.
Absolutely. So yeah, my name is Jacob Palmer, and I started my electrical service business, Palmer Electrical, in February of 2024. At the time of recording, that's about a year and 2 or 3 months. But I'm a licensed electrician here in North Carolina. I offer services to, I offer residential work. I only offer my services to homeowners in their home. Currently, my business is just me. You're looking at the whole thing. It's me and that truck and this shop, and I'm liking it. I really enjoy my setup right now, but I'm excited for the future. But yeah, that's my thing. One man, one truck, tearing it up in North Carolina.
It really makes it perfect. I feel like at this stage in the podcast, a lot of our discussions, a lot of our questions are geared towards people who are either just getting started or maybe thinking about just getting started, and who better to answer those types of questions than somebody like yourself, who is a year and a few months into it. Before the business, before we dive in, because most of it obviously will be about the electrical trade, about your business, tell us a little bit about how you got to the point of starting your own electrical business. I'm sure you field the questions all the time. I even wrote some myself. You are a younger electrician. It's not an easy trade to just pick up out of nowhere. So tell us a little bit about the history. The career history probably can't be too long if you're a year into owning your own business and you are young. But tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are.
Yeah, for sure. So you're right. I guess running Palmer Electrical is my 5th job, I think. Total.
Can we run through the other 4 if you have them off the top of your head?
Yeah, I would love to. So my very first job, I worked at a roller rink. So I started in the skate room, and then I did all the jobs in a roller rink, including DJing and floor guard. So I got to get paid to go skate and blow the whistle at kids who were breaking the rules, and get on the microphone and do games and all that fun stuff. Also at that job, when I was there, it lined up with the COVID pandemic in 2020. So that summer, the rink got shut down, and we spent full-time hours in there doing refurbishments and painting and all that. And I bring that up because in that time, I installed a sound system, a new, for the whole rink, new system with my manager at the time. And that was kind of my first real taste of working with my hands, doing installation work.
Yeah.
Of course, not professional by any means. He was a roller rink manager. But in any case, that kind of gave me a good taste. From there, I went and worked as a package handler at FedEx for a short time, and then spent some time living in Virginia with my grandparents. When I was there, I worked at a precision aluminum tubing factory. I was a draw bench operator, among other things. Also, crane operator and other things. Just had a small assortment of responsibilities there. But it was when I was spending my time at the aluminum tubing facility when I heard about my mom, who hired an electrician, and he mentioned he needed help.
Okay.
So I was at a time in my life where I didn't really have firm roots. I could kind of say screw it and try something new. And it complemented my knowledge of basic electrical theory. I was good in high school, and I loved physics class and learning about theory
Sure.
and why things work the way they do. So I had a good basis in that regard, as well as some basic customer service skills. So
Sure.
it worked pretty well. So I got on and started my apprenticeship with that company based here in my neighboring city, Charlotte, North Carolina, where we did mostly residential service work. And then we did some commercial, but it was vast majority service.
Sure.
That's where I got my teeth cut. Is that a saying?
Oh, yeah.
That's where I got my knowledge and learned about the code. Got my real world experience dealing with customers, working in houses, passing inspections, all that. And so I learned a little bit more about the licensing process in North Carolina. I realized, hey, I'm only a couple years off from being able to do my own thing, and I decided that I enjoyed the trade enough. It's very gratifying, so I stuck with it. I studied hard and passed my licensing exam on the first try, and the rest is history. Started up Palmer Electrical, and here we are.
So about 4.5, 5 years from that first installation in the roller rink to, starting your own business. That's pretty cool. Growing up and was electrical work or service work something of interest, or did you kind of fall into it almost
Well, I hate to say that I fell into it because it doesn't sound intentional.
Yeah.
But I definitely fell into it. Because like I mentioned when I was kind of telling my story there, I was at a point in my life where I could say screw it, and try it. But yeah, no, it's been a really interesting journey for sure. And another thing, when this type of conversation comes up, I tell people that it's only the start. I'm 23 years old. I have so much more to learn. I'm proficient at what I do in this, but I have aspirations of learning much more. So this is just the beginning.
I think that's fair to say. This is just the beginning. To be where you're at the point you're at is definitely impressive, and I'm confident there will be more. And heck, maybe we can do a handshake agreement 2 years from now. We'll revisit this, and you can say, hey, these are my 6 trucks. That'll be difficult to maybe get them in one background. We might have to change locations.
Yeah.
But to revisit it, I'm excited to learn from where you are now, and also to watch as a fan, truly, and kind of watch how it develops. And we'll revisit it in a handful of years' time. We'll be sitting on hundreds of thousands of subscribers as a podcast. You'll be sitting on tens of employees, and we'll talk about our humble beginnings on that first episode in June of 25.
I would love to do that.
That's awesome. So many things, so many follow-up questions from the story. A little bit, you mentioned a little bit, one of the first places I'd like to start is just the process of becoming certified. So you mentioned you started with the other company as an apprentice. Now, what does that process look like after the fact to become licensed?
Yeah, so I can only speak on North Carolina, just to be clear. The licensing process is different for different states. But here in North Carolina, the process for getting a limited license like the one that I have is there's a certain threshold of number of hours worked in the field.
Okay.
Just work experience, those hours get verified by your employer, by the license holder you were working under. Yeah, they were working here for this long. And then there are also other documents that you need signed and notarized, things like there's a couple character statement forms that need to be submitted to the state. Your fee, of course, there's always a fee. Every step of the way is a fee. You pay the fee, and then it's mostly paperwork. The biggest hurdle is time-wise is getting the work experience. And then the last step of the process before you can send in an application to have a license issued is the test, the exam. That's usually the hardest part for a lot of people, at least the people that I've spoken to. There are plenty of technicians, especially here in North Carolina. The way it works here in my state is for each shop location, pretty much, you need a license holder, and for each job that you have, you don't necessarily have to have a license holder on site. You can send your apprentices to go do your work. Of course, you still have to pass the same inspection. You still have to meet the same code. But what I'm getting at is there are gentlemen and ladies, I'm sure, in this state who have spent whole careers doing work like I'm doing, and doing work working on industrial stuff and commercial jobs and new construction, all kinds of big stuff. Who they themselves don't have a license, but they have made good careers in the field as an electrician to get there. And the only difference is they haven't gone to take the test, which is mostly on code, the National Electrical Code. Sure. They haven't gone to take the test and gotten a license themselves. That seems to be a big barrier for a lot of people. But yeah, it's difficult. It's not easy, but and the last thing I'll say about this is in this state, the number of licensed electricians is just going down and then down and down some more. Okay. I wish I should have come prepared with the actual numbers because I got some good reliable information recently, but the number of electricians is dropping month by month, and the average age of electricians is dropping month by month. That's it makes me pretty unique. It's definitely to be at my age and be able to do the work, which is one thing, but to have a license, it's somewhat a rarity as far as I've seen.
Yeah, we could probably talk for hours about why that is the case, and I'm sure there are other podcasts that are doing that. We'll maybe leave that question for them. Focusing on your journey in general, when you started as an apprentice, did you know as you started that was maybe something you would want to do, is work towards a license, or did you kind of figure out as you're working a few months into the job, like, hey, I enjoy this, I'm good at it, I'm going to pursue getting a license and starting my own business?
It was always, it was definitely a possibility for sure. Sure. I don't think I would have been willing to go in to a new job or commit to a new job if I didn't think it had the potential to take me somewhere.
Right.
So it was definitely in the back of my mind. I just needed to get through that first few months and make sure I didn't hate it. You gotta make sure it's good. But it turned out I loved it. I was able to learn quick, and I'm good at dealing with homeowners. And I'm good at doing the work. I know the code. And I was able to learn quick, which was good. Definitely.
Yeah, you definitely have the brain for it. You can tell just from watching 30 seconds of a video that you kind of conceptually understand it and do really good work. That's something I think I told you the first time we met, is I watch a lot of service business YouTubes, and you do a really, it's not a big enough adjective, but a really clean job. Like every time I'm watching, I'm like, wow, that is really nicely done.
Thank you.
It might be meant to be. Maybe you were born to be an electrician, which is kind of cool.
Everything happens for a reason, right?
That's right. Absolutely. So we talked about a little bit, just as we've kind of conversed through your personal journey and career history, talking about your business more specifically. 15 months in, what is your current setup right now? You said residential only, one man, one truck. Talk about a little bit maybe into the decision right now. Why just one? Why just you? And why just residential versus also doing commercial?
I'll start with why just residential.
Those two large questions. Yeah, feel free to break them down into very separate questions.
I chose to do just residential. One, because that's where vast majority of my experience lies. Okay. So I can go into a house and I can pretty confidently know that I'll be the best guy for the job. That's part of my mindset whenever I'm working with people. And another thing is, like, I turned down a lot of work.
Okay.
I turned down work, and it would make, you know, other business owners like mine nervous. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we might get angry
But
comments.
yeah, but no, I turned down work, and it really is because I'm not willing to give somebody a price on a job if I am not certain I'm the best company for the job.
Sure.
Unless I'm not certain that it's a slam dunk for me and the customer.
Fair.
That's part of my ideology, and that works because I'm a one man, one truck operation.
Right.
You can't do that if you have 5 trucks worth of guys that you
Yep.
need to keep busy. You can't really turn down work like that. So that's why just residential. To boil it down, I'm really good at it. Why just one guy has relations to why just residential, like I said, but for right now, I am only sticking with one just by myself because it's incredibly easy to manage. You know, I'm
Mhm.
sure anybody that runs a service will know. I mean, I don't have guys that I need to worry about breaking stuff. I don't have guys that are going to go wreck a truck or going to go send a foot through a ceiling or going to go, be unpleasant in front
Yeah.
of customers. And I have a really specific set of standards for the work and a very specific set of standards for the experience that my customers get. And doing it this way, obviously, I have total control over it. That's why it's just me right now. And I'll also add on to that is I don't plan on changing. I don't have visions of changing that anytime soon.
Sure.
Not and now in my visions of my future of Jacob Palmer when he's 33. Employees I think are part of that picture. I don't know what the road looks like between now and then, but right now it's making the money it needs to,
Hmm.
um, which is a prerequisite, and then
Right.
yeah, it's easy to manage, and another thing is that this is doing things where I am now. Gives me the opportunity or unlocks some different opportunities for me. So doing it this way gives me the time I need to uh, make my YouTube videos. That's a time consuming
Sure.
thing. And if I had a bunch of guys and trucks to manage and keep oil changes going in and all that,
Hmm.
it's a lot less time to devote to doing that and other things that I'm just interested in. But I am not opposed to growth at all in my future. I see that in my future for sure, but not in the short term. It's not really on my radar right now. I really like the way things are running.
I love it. Both very well said. That was a difficult 2 questions to answer paired back to back. Maybe poor podcast hosting. We'll continue to work on that.
Those are
Um,
great questions.
2 great questions. True. 2 difficult great questions. I'll take the credit. Thank you. Um, Similar to another thing we've touched on a little bit. You mentioned it. 23 years old. Not a lot of people. 23 years old, licensed electricians, and probably less so 23 years old licensed electricians who own their own business. I'm sure you field questions similar to this often. Have you ran into either challenges or, positives with being your age and owning your own business?
Yeah, both definitely. It's
Okay.
a blessing and a curse. Um, it's also, I guess I'll start with the negatives. Obviously, when a young face like mine shows up, it's not exactly what people expect
Sure.
unless they've seen my content or my
Right.
Facebook ads or whatever. If they're seeing me for the first time, it's definitely surprising. I'm not what people expect when they call an electrician
Hmm.
or a tradesman to the house. Generally speaking,
Hmm.
um, I get I do notice more people than when I was working at my previous company. More people kind of ask me for proof of my license and proof of my
Sure.
insurance and stuff. They're kind of
Yeah.
skeptical, which I don't blame them.
Right.
And I'm happy to provide all that information. My paperwork is in order, but yeah, there's definitely some skepticism about my abilities, but I'm able to squash that pretty quickly whenever I start working, and they can
Right.
see that I'm that I'm legit.
or even start
um,
conversing. You know what you're talking about, and you can figure. I mean, I own a home. I know very little. If you started telling me about my situation, that trust builds quickly,
mhm.
regardless of age. I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm able to demonstrate my experience and kind of ward those concerns away. Um, and then other, I mean, I think that might be one of the only negatives. Um, the it's definitely a good thing in some ways also because it gives me the chance to impress people uh, it, in a little bit of an extra way.
Yeah,
And you can come and do clean work, nice wires, nice clean panel, all make it look great. um, but yeah, if it whenever you do great work and then you're also surprise people with how young you are, it kind of
yeah,
adds a little, it's kind of a special experience, I
totally.
think, sometimes.
Yeah,
And
it's a
it opens up the opportunity to answer a lot of questions, a lot of similar questions of what you've asked me so far.
totally.
So it gives me the chance to share my story with people, and the big key thing is that it's memorable. People
Yes.
remember the time the 23-year-old kid came up with his happy little smile and he has a little cartoon on the truck, and it's just a kind of a unique experience. And then that paired onto the very high level of very high standards of workmanship and service quality, it yields good results.
Yeah, it's like a built-in differentiator, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that a lot of other businesses probably have to work to set themselves apart in a way.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most important thing, like you mentioned, is doing a really good job, because if you don't, they're going to say, "Hey, that nice young kid didn't do a great job." But now you have the built-in where you do good work, you
Yeah.
do set yourself apart naturally, and now maybe some conversations with the neighbors, like, "Did you see that, electrical truck that was parked out? 23 years old, he did an incredible job," and it probably leads to a lot of referrals and a lot of other positive things that happen with it.
Absolutely. And I find people are really excited to help small businesses. And then people, they kind of seem to be excited to help me in my journey. Um, so that's been beneficial also. Um,
That's awesome.
it seems like it also kind of just stirs up a little bit of extra word of mouth, like you said.
Yeah,
It definitely kicks up some extra word of mouth.
I love it. um, a little bit more, we've talked a lot about the business. I'm trying to keep this question as simple as possible. What is the biggest difference from day one of Palmer Electrical to where you are today as we sit here?
Ooh, the biggest difference is the truck. I was
Okay.
started working. I mean, really, it really is. I started my business working out of my Toyota Highlander,
Okay.
and that was a nightmare. It was
Yeah.
possible, but that poor car, it just got beat up. So I mean, that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, most service businesses have a service vehicle, but it really does make a huge difference whenever you can get a vehicle that's made for service work,
Right.
and it's a huge productivity boost. But other than the tangible, kind of the intangible is, I've started to get into my flow of what I think me running a business should look like.
Okay.
It, starting fresh, I had to file an LLC. Like I
Yeah.
never thought I'd be filing an LLC.
Yeah.
So learning about the inner, like just like the boring paperwork side, the
Mhm.
taxes and uh, certification and compliance and all that boring stuff.
Yeah.
I've now had to work with and around it enough to where it feels a little bit more natural.
Sure.
So that was a big hurdle, was getting used to bookkeeping practices and all that. Um, and then other things like getting my um, getting my softwares in order,
Sure.
getting my getting all that. My YouTube channel has been kind of a part and an appendage of it. So I've that has my YouTube channel has grown since I've started my business. Those have kind of gone hand in hand
Yeah.
because I have kind of more to talk about. Um, but otherwise, in essence, it's there's in another way, it's also not all that different between now and from day one, because I am still just Jacob Palmer.
Yeah.
The whole business is, pretty much exists inside my mind. So yeah, there's a couple different ways of thinking about it, but
Yeah, that was beautiful. Both tangible and intangible is way cooler of a way to answer that question than I could have even framed it. We talked about the shop a little bit earlier. I love your channel. I watch a lot of the videos. My favorite one was the introduction of the shop. You mentioned in the video plans for it, things you would change. Where's it at now? What have some of the changes been, and any future plans?
well,
Yeah, look
let's see
around.
here.
Give me it all.
Well, I gotta say, most of the shop work has been building shelves.
Okay.
That's
the simplest thing you don't think of.
yeah, or organization and everything. And then I still need to change the lights. The lighting isn't very good in here, so I
know
got
a
to
good
get
guy for you. I'll
Yeah.
pass the contact info.
Exactly. But yeah, just getting my organization loaded, get stuff moved. I finally got the office and bathroom painted.
Okay.
The previous tenants of this unit was a cooking kitchen waste oil collection business. It's called the Grease Man.
Incredible.
And
Might have to have him
yeah,
on.
yeah, and well, he sold his business. That's why he left. He made a bunch of money. But the you could tell
Yeah,
that
I
it
was
was the
gonna
grease
say,
man that left,
yeah, if
because it
there's
was
any-
just grease everywhere. Anything that your hands might touch on a
was
daily
covered.
basis,
Had to be.
and all your touch points had a film
Sure.
of grease all over it. The garage overhead door, like
Crazy.
the first 2 nights after I signed the lease for this place and got the key, I was literally here with Brillo pads, scrubbing and just making it livable, making it
Oh.
possible to be in. But yeah, it was really dirty whenever I first got here. But just getting it cleaned up, all my organization and making it my own. But most of my time spent working is in the field.
Sure.
So I tackle shop projects whenever I can.
Yeah, get it to the point where it's functional, which you did, relatively quickly, and then the rest can become pet projects.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm with you. I would have.
And I'll admit it's kind of funny to admit this, but there are outlets in the shop that don't work and have not worked since I got here, and I just have not fixed them. There's a couple of them, one here in the shop and then a couple in the office. I just haven't gotten around to fixing them. You see a lot more extension cords than you might expect to see in an electrician's shop.
Incredible. We might need a video just on that, like fixing the things that don't work in my shop.
Yeah,
Would be. I'd watch. Hey, there's one.
Look for that on the Palmer Electrical YouTube channel.
There you go. I'll either co-star or help with vision boards. I'll find my way into assistance in that video in one way or another. It gave me back to when we were both younger, like MTV Cribs a little bit. I was like, oh, this is sweet. This is like a service business Cribs episode. I need more. So we'll have to get a follow up, maybe specifically.
Yeah, I might do an update now that I've got all my stuff loaded and storage. Yeah. It's about half electrical stuff, and then the other half is just my personal shop tools. I do like hobby woodworking and stuff in my weekends. So there's
very cool.
Other saws and things and materials around too. So this is my electrical business shop, but it's also my personal shop.
When we get to the Kennett side hustle segment, we might have to have a side segment about Ken woodworking side hustle. Might be another episode as well. Talked a lot about actual business, electrical work, getting your business set up. Now into operating your business. Talk to me a little bit about how you go about getting work. You mentioned, I think the first time in Home Service Headquarters history, that you sometimes turn away work, which obviously means your process of getting work are going really well. What's some of the main ways that you go about getting work and finding jobs?
So it's kind of funneled down into thirds.
Okay.
About a third of my lead comes from Google searching, just natural search results. About a third of it comes from social media, the Facebook groups around here, the community groups, and then in other social media, just kind of posts. And then the last third is word of mouth, is just straight up referrals from person to person.
Awesome. Google reviews you mentioned, or at least Google 82 5-star reviews. So obviously, and that kind of works with the word of mouth. What is your process like? What does that look like for getting reviews? Is that something that's on your mind as you start a job? Is that something you follow up with days after? What does that look like?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on my mind all the time.
Okay.
I get a lot of pride from my Google reviews.
As you should.
But
82.5. No, there aren't any below, which is honestly really incredible for 82. And I know we've talked about, and you can see in your YouTube videos, you do good work, but that's pretty good proof rather than
yeah, no,
you guys say.
I take it really seriously. Yeah, customer experience is almost comes before the electrical work. They're pretty even. Really take it seriously. So that yields Google reviews. But yeah, I have people that reach out to me from my YouTube videos. People see my number on the side of the truck and decide they want to call me in for advice. And I had a gentleman call me and ask me about Google reviews and how to get more of them because he saw all mine.
Awesome.
And the answer I gave him is the prerequisite is to do good work.
Right.
You can't expect a 5-star review if you go in there and break their stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a prerequisite. But the big main thing, and I can't believe I'm about to divulge my big business secret here. It's
we can cut it.
You have to ask. You have to ask for your reviews. They're not gonna. Everybody knows that everybody's. People really rarely go and give 5-star reviews when they had a great experience, because when you have a great experience, kind of the way I think about it is you don't have to think about it. It should be really seamless. It shouldn't impact their lives or their mind or their stress levels. It should just not even be a thing. People are really quick to go if they're mad at you to go and screw up your Google reviews and drop a 1-star in there. People love doing that if you give them a reason to. But anyhow, yeah, the answer is always no till you ask. So that's the big key thing is you have to ask for your Google reviews at the end of the job.
Was that something that you kind of had to get in the flow of? Was that something that you had to work up towards, like that little, at least for me, that feeling of asking somebody to do something for you that might not be required? Did you have to work up for that, or did you just know it's incredibly vital to the success of my business that I get these, and we're aware of that from the jump?
Yeah, I was aware. My previous company had a Google review incentive program. We'd get $50 if we got a 5-star review with our name in it. So, cool. So that's where I started. I did pretty good there, and the so yeah, it's pretty much since I've started doing this work, it's been a part of my process, so yeah, that nerve to ask just kind of just goes along with learning to be a serviceman and all and learning all the rest of the little details and the little facets of the stuff that you learn, all the different situations that you learn how to deal with in the field. And and part of it is reviews, and I'm not shy, because usually whenever I ask, I know that they got a 5-star service, and I know they know. I do my best. So so that's pretty good. Doing it like that.
Yeah, that's something I think I've yet to uncover in all these conversations, that the confidence in getting a review becomes much easier when you're confident that you did a 5-star job. So being committed to your work, knowing what you're doing a really good job. That question of hey, would you mind, go ahead and filling out a Google review? It really helps the business.
Exactly.
Doesn't become scary at all when you know that you did a good job.
Exactly.
Which is really cool.
And then really the trickiest one, I guess tangentially related, when you're talking about dealing with customers, for example, I will get a call where, hey, my kitchen outlet stopped working. Nothing's working in here. And I'll get there and it's just a tripped GFI. Right.
Yeah.
And it's right there on the counter.
Yep.
And maybe they even tried to hit the reset and they're like, oh, it's not doing anything. They just weren't pushing it far enough.
Yeah.
And so that situation can be kind of tricky. Usually the customer is going to be okay because now they don't have to pay for expensive electrical repairs. They might just get the service call fee. But it's easy to handle that situation wrong and make people feel stupid over it.
Yes.
So yeah, whenever you get to the sweet old lady's house and she's confused, that situation there's a certain level of tact that you gotta bring to the table whenever you deal with stuff like that. And I was able to get a review over that once.
Incredible.
A lady was happy.
There's so much to the interpersonal workings of a service business that we could probably also spend hours on in discussing, which you have a really good handle on, which helps. There's
the soft skills.
For sure, yeah, huge. Tons. There's I can't remember, it might be a YouTube show or something of fake service calls where they'll put a really minor problem and then call 5-10 local businesses to see how they each handle those, which is really cool. I'm trying to, again, I'm like, how could we work this into Jacob's YouTube channel? But I don't think you'd want to work that one in like a secret camera. I don't know, maybe a song for another time. As we wrap up, because I've already taken plenty of your time and I could truthfully probably take a couple more hours because you have so much information to offer and you speak very well to it, which I think is why your YouTube is successful. But a few of our recurring segments here. Can it side hustle? We ask all different people from all different service businesses, can your occupation, can your trade work as a side hustle business while you're wrapping up your career in another or thinking about starting your own business or whatever? Can an electrical business be a side hustle?
So that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
So my answer I'm going to give is no. The reason I don't think it can is, well, one, there's a lot of paperwork and stuff. You need to do it above board the way you're supposed to. You need your license, you need your insurance, you need all that. So getting all that set up could be somewhat of a hassle and somewhat expensive for it to just be a side hustle.
Right.
So that's a part of it. Another part of it is it may, if you limit it to a side hustle, you're not going to get very big jobs. You're probably going to be doing a lot of fixture changes and a lot of TV outlets and a lot of pretty basic stuff, unless you're willing to commit all of your free time to it, which by all means. But I think that if you have gone to the trouble of getting your license and getting it set up, you just go start doing it. Just go all in. Because at least, I guess that also depends on your area where you're located. But where in my case, where I am, there's plenty of work. It won't take much to get your leads rolling in and to get your truck busy. So in my, where I am, speaking on my kind of experience, I don't think it would make sense to do it as a side hustle is really a better answer to your question.
I agree. And thinking through a lot of it, as we have other industries on, that seems to be like an easy, like a softball yes, and kind of like a call to action for people who might be watching or listening, like, hey, start it and try it. But there's so much that you have to know to be an electrician, and there's so much work that has to be done to even get to the point of licensing that it almost seems like not a hard no.
I could see a situation where an experienced technician leaves the electrical industry,
sure,
and then already has a license and continues to do stuff for people. And I guess now that I think that does happen, there are people around that do that as their side hustle when they transition to maybe an office job for their for their 40 hours a week. Yep. And then just kind of do stuff for friends and family on the side. That's a pretty common little setup.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like a backwards. Like, can it side hustle at the beginning? Probably not that easily, but can it side hustle on the back end once you're licensed and everything's set up? Probably. Exactly. Very cool. That's a fun, unique answer that I don't think we've had in the times doing this segment. Then the recurring segment is hit or miss, simple agree or disagree questions. Take them as far as you will. Talked about this one at length. It's difficult to become an electrician.
Hit, yes, it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely more steps, I would say, to becoming, at least like you said, an above board electrician than some of the other industries out there.
Yeah,
Hit or
that's
miss,
an easy answer there. Yep.
hit or miss. Wrapping your work vehicle is worth the expense.
Yeah, you hit. It was worth my expense. It gets you a lot of credibility, gets you a lot of exposure. I've People call me all the time. Hey, I saw your truck, um,
Incredible.
and gives you the chance to. It, this it's. I think it's key that if you're going to if you're going big, if you're going for a big service company,
Hmm.
and you want a bunch of trucks and you want to be that big business, you want to be the big next Morris Jenkins, Michael Sun, those are big names in my area.
Sure.
Yes, you have to wrap your vehicles because at that point you're building a brand,
Yeah.
and you need brand recognition, and it needs to be identifiable. It gives like I said, like the first thing I said, it gives you a lot more credibility. So yeah, if you're going real big, I really think that you have to, or at least establish some sort of graphics or decals or uniformity for your trucks. Um, to branding is very important. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of like two multiple ways that it's positive. One, the professionalism and the credibility, and then also the leads that you can potentially get. So
yep.
uh, that's a fun one. I don't think
And I love the personalization of it too. In my
totally
case, I at my scale, I don't need to have my truck wrapped
right.
necessarily, but it looks really cool, and it makes me really happy. And yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's another source of lead generation. So yeah.
It's also a hit for being the coolest background we've had to date. Hit or miss. You should estimate most of your jobs in person versus on the phone via text. Call it remote.
Yeah, yeah, easy hit, easy agree. Yes, and if you have the time for it, estimate 100% of your jobs in
Okay.
person. It's One is the obvious. You can't see what you're dealing with over the phone,
Right.
so you're gonna miss some stuff. There's
Hmm.
going to be a big unexpected. Your customer doesn't know what amperage their service is, most
Yeah.
likely. Your customer doesn't know if you could put a tandem breaker in the panel. Your customer doesn't know if the HVAC unit that's down in the or the air handler in the crawl space is going to totally block where you need to run your wire. Um, so the discovery phase and the investigation phase of quotes is very important. So that fact finding and information gathering, yeah, you need that. Um, I guess if all they need is a like a ceiling fan, you can give them a price for a ceiling fan, some like
Right.
basic stuff. But if it's anything that's going to take any amount of work, um, yeah, you got to be there.
Get
And then
there.
the other part of it is the personal side of
Sure.
things. You go there, you get to look your customer in the eye and shake their hand. Hi, I'm Jacob Palmer, and I'm going to do your work. And I'm here to get more info, and you get to make an impression on them before the work sells, and it makes you a little bit more amicable. People want to, if the extent of the interaction with your customer before you do work is one phone call, they don't care about you. They're
Right.
not committed to that business. They will pretty quickly turn around and take somebody else's bid, because you didn't get the chance to show them what you're all about. And so yeah, I make a point. Like I don't give anybody pricing unless I have been there and shaken their hands and meet them. And another thing is you get to kind of clock your customer too,
Yeah.
and see if they're going to be somebody that you want to work with. Because
Totally.
it's a fact there are customers out there that you just don't want to deal with.
Right.
So you make sure that you get to kind of filter out and make sure you're getting the work that you want.
I love it. As you think about it, it's oftentimes like, well, that's such a time expense to go out there, but you're probably more times than not saving yourself time with that fact finding, understanding the little things about the job, and just doing yourself a favor by getting out there and
Absolutely. And that also has an additional effect too, for in the customer experience side of things, because it minimizes the chance of me having to go back and say, hey, wasn't expecting this.
Right.
Oops, this doesn't have the bracing, or
Yeah.
we didn't realize this was aluminum wire. It's not, most people will be pretty understanding.
Totally.
It's not necessarily the end of the world, but if you have to go back and add some money to the invoice, then that's going to be a negative tick for your customer. Either way, it kind of makes you look. I mean, I don't want to say it makes you look stupid, but it makes you look stupid if you
Right.
if you go and find out after the fact, after you agreed on a price,
Yeah.
after you said, yeah, we're going to get done today and all this, it creates a negative experience. So yeah, very important.
Love it. Last one here. It's important to be on social media while running a service business in 2025.
Yes, another easy agree. I guess if you're depending on your business, on your type of your style of business, but yeah, no, public media or social media has expanded into part of our everyday lives now.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my opinion, it's expanded, and it's an appendage. It's a part of the public square. That's where people go. That's where people talk. That's where information and ideas get spread around, and that's where people find businesses. So yes, it's important to have social media, I think, if you're running a business like mine, at least. And then another thing is it's important to have active social media. And I do have an inactive Instagram account, and I will own up to that right now. But when a customer go and, hey, Palmer Electrical, look them up on Instagram.
Right.
And if you can have a page there, but if it's not active, if your last post was in 2019, it looks like you closed.
Yeah.
And it's also like, it's the only word I can think about is like it's a bad vibe. I don't know. It's like if I'm looking, if I find this old empty thing, it's dated content that's being served up top, and it's not. Think about that experience compared to what it would be like if a customer scrolled up my Instagram and it's, oh, look at this cool lights that I just installed on this panel. It's all really recent, and if you can make them laugh somehow,
right.
or make it memorable,
Yes.
that experience is super valuable. Even if they don't call you, they're a lot more likely to remember that time they found that cool Instagram page for the Electrician.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's really no downside to it unless you're, posting things that you did wrong for whatever reason, which obviously wouldn't happen. But
yeah, no,
lends itself
it's really important
to a lot of the professionalism, like you said, building a brand and putting yourself out there and showing as professional. Awesome. Well, like I said, I've already taken plenty of your time. It's been incredible. Lots of valuable information, lots of fun answers to these things. One last question, and more so one last piece of advice that you would give to somebody maybe in your shoes 3, 4, 5 years ago as they are looking to get into the trade.
Ooh, this trade, electrical?
You can take it electrical or just into a service business in general.
I'm going to talk to electricians because those are my people. You have to just be willing to do it. It's so repetitive. Everybody says, "Oh, you have to work hard. You have to put your head down to it." But it really is. It really is the big. You just got to get your head down and get it done. You need experience. The only way you're going to learn is by doing it more, and making mistakes and learning. I guess and also the last part I'll add is you need a goal. If you don't have a goal in mind, you don't have a direction. You're not working towards anything. You can work if you can get into an electrical apprenticeship and not have the goal of getting your license and starting a business, but then you're gonna. It seems like you're probably going to end up like that guy I was talking about earlier, who has made a whole career in the trade, and he's still just an apprentice making 25 or 30 bucks an hour, depending on where you were and what you're doing. Which, you can make a good living if you want to, but you limit your potential so set the goal, decide where you want to be, and just do it. And then and also start studying the code book right now, because it's yeah, the test is hard in all the states. I know that the test is hard in all of the states. So so start studying on your code book now.
I love it. Take the jump, work hard, and maybe start studying the book
Stick with it.
a little bit earlier than you might think. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us. Before we sign off, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Where can people support?
I want to send people to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called Palmer Electrical. You'll see my happy face on the channel icon. But I make electrical content. I record my jobs and film them, and I do my best to explain what I'm doing. So it's a good resource for somebody who's learning, an apprentice out there, or somebody who wants to kind of see what the day-to-day is like. I make a lot of content about my day-to-day, and I also make content about tools and other stuff I'm interested in. I make a lot of videos about my truck. So if that stuff interests you, go check me out at Palmer Electrical on YouTube. And if there's a viewer out there in need of high quality residential electrical services, and you're in the Cabarrus County, North Carolina area, there's my number. Give me a call.
Perfect.
Free quotes.
We will make sure to link both the YouTube and the website in the description. So feel free, scroll down a little bit, click that, get in touch with Jacob, follow along as he continues to grow and as the company continues to grow. And we'll be back in a few years' time. Home service headquarters, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, Palmer Electrical, tens or hundreds of employees, and we'll talk about the journey of both.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jacob.
Jack, thanks so much for having me by. It's been a pleasure.